Hello everyone, and this is Zero Eclipse here. I'm kinda tired, but I wanted to do this because I've really loved this story. It's a story off of FimFiction called Equestria's Human Spirit. I am looking for voice actors and voice actresses for the other voices, so I don't strain myself. If you are interested, please let me know. Chapter 1. Memories and Unexpected Events. Daniel, first-person point of view. I sighed as I walked down the cement path of my city, listening to the sounds of people and cars moving from place to place, living out their normal lives. They all have something that I lost a long time ago. Happiness. My name is Daniel Blaze. I'm a 20-year-old human filled with nothing but emptiness. I wear a red t-shirt with a leather black jacket. The rest of my attire consists of red and black shoes, black fingerless gloves, and a pair of red jeans. On my left cheek there is a scar from long ago during my childhood. And finally, around my neck was a golden pendant. A pendant that held within it a picture of me and the only person I ever loved with all my heart, my mother. She meant everything to me. She was my whole world. But she died from cancer when I was 10. I became devastated and sad by her death. When she passed, my grandfather Eric took me into his home. Through the past 10 years, he taught me how to wield a sword, as well as karate and MMA, mixed martial arts. Through those years, he was a father to me, but he then became ill. I got word my grandfather was injected with some kind of deadly poison, which is fatal to the human body. From the news, I knew he wasn't going to make it. 3 weeks later, he passed as well, leaving me alone in this world. I couldn't believe it. The only two people I held dear in my heart were gone forever. I didn't have any friends from my time living in Florida. I was alone, living in the shadows with no one to comfort me or be at my side. During my time of being alone in this cruel world, I tried to help others out as best I can. My grandfather told me before he died to always help others in need. I'll never forget his words, and I'll never forget him and my mother. I didn't know what to do in my life now, but everything would be changed forever. As I continued strolling through other people as they chatted away in their business, something caught my attention. Someone was looking at me. It was a guy, around my age, I think. Has white hair and shockingly purple eyes with an evil smirk. Before I could react, he vanished when a ton of people blocked my view. He disappeared in thin air. Am I going crazy? I'm just not sure what just happened. No, I just must be seeing things. I had a rough day after all. I rubbed my head and continued onward to my home. I eventually arrived at my grandfather's home and walked inside, closing the door behind me with another sigh. After my grandfather's passing, I became the owner of the house. I didn't have any problems paying the taxes and so forth because the payment was low, and the house, electricity, water, and so forth wasn't used much when my grandfather lived here. Whenever I looked at one of the family pictures near the fireplace, I would frown a little, knowing I still missed him. But at least there was one thing I truly and always had to remember my grandfather by. I walked into the living room and pulled out a sword from a drawer, gently holding it in my hands. The sword was sheathed in a black sheath, made out of strong leather with a metal compartment inside of it. I gently grabbed the handle and slowly, inch by inch, pulled out the blade. Once it was fully removed from its sheath, I held it up for myself to inspect yet again. The blade of the sword was made not out of metal, but instead, it was made out of a crystal compound and a black stone edge. I don't even know what the sword was made out of, neither he knew as well. But he told me the material of the sword were very valuable. The sword was a katana, one which belonged to my grandfather. It was his most prized possession. He acquired the sword from his late grandfather, to whom I don't know, but he told me he was a great warrior with a pure heart of gold. This sword was given to me by him on my 19th birthday, a year before his passing, and told me it would bring me good luck. I continued looking at the blade, seeing the reflection of my face on the crystal part of the blade. My reflection was then replaced with my grandfather's, and he was smiling at me. I smiled a little, knowing he and my mother were watching me from the heavens above. I sheathed the sword and slinged the sheath onto my back. I don't intend to carry it with me in public, because it's a weapon, of course, but it's also a very expensive sword. My grandfather once told me that many people worldwide had wanted his sword because of what it's made of. He even told me someone was willing to give him $3 million for it, but he refused. It was amazing how expensive this sword was, but it belonged to him, and he kept it because it made it with his heart. I can feel it within me when I hold it. I will never trade this magnificent blade for anything, not even for all the money and power in the world. With that, I decided to sit down on the couch and watch some TV. I had nothing better to do other than me training in the art of karate, MMA, and wielding the sword, after all. Nothing in my life was exciting. I missed the good old days with my grandfather. He would always take me on camping trips and teach me how to wield the sword. We would always see the scenery of the forest, hearing the sound of the birds. We even saw a bear cub wrestling with its siblings one time. I'll tell you, it looked so cute and funny, even though bears could be dangerous sometimes. I'll never forget those times with my grandfather. Besides the camping I did with my grandfather, my mom and I would always walk up on the beach together with him on many occasions whenever we met him, always looking at the blue ocean and admiring its beauty. Smiling at these memories, I decided to go to the beach for a calm walk. I haven't visited the beach in a few years due to the training from my grandfather, so it wouldn't hurt to visit there again. I got up from the couch and decided to take some things to keep me busy. I packed up some food, water, my phone, my laptop computer, a few reading books, and decided to take my grandfather's sword with me. Packed up and ready to go, I left my home and headed out to the beach. I spent 4 hours calmly walking along the sidewalks and the streets until I made it to the beach, where people were already packing up and leaving as the sun began to set. I started walking down the path, admiring the beauty of the water, glittering the setting sun's light off the surface. I was happy that my mom and I decided to live here in Florida. Nothing in this world can ever compare the beauty of the ocean in this state, along with its white sandy beaches. I continued walking around the beach again and again for a couple of hours, and before I knew it, the sun had set and the night sky was already out. I always enjoyed the night sky, but it was a disappointment that not many stars were visible and the clouds were in the way. I pulled out a granola bar from my bag and ate it while I was continuing to walk around the sandy ground. I sighed as I looked up at the sky. Even though I was enjoying myself out here on the beach, admiring the beauty before me, it wasn't the same without my grandfather or mother. I looked down at the ground and sighed sadly. I felt a lone tear escaping my eye. I still felt empty inside, and I didn't know why. What is it that I'm missing? What could it be? Well, 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 looky who we have here. I stopped dead in my tracks, and I looked up and was faced by 3 men around 20 and 21. I growled at the men, knowing who they were. It was Tom, Chuck, and Will. They were students at my old school before I got expelled. They were the reason why I was kicked out of my school. Besides being alone in my cruel, lonely world, I was also bullied. Ever since my mother died, many of the students, mostly Tom and his friends, from my school bullied me, believing I was a wimp because I cared too much about her. One time, they almost destroyed my mother's pendant with a hammer, but I managed to stop them and beat them up. But due to that, I got expelled from the school. I'll never forgive them for what they did. What the fuck do you assholes want? I replied with venom dripping from my words. Something in my mind was telling me this is not going to end well. The 3 boys laughed. "Aw, look at that, boys! Little Danny misses us!" Tom taunted. My rage boiled in my blood, and I wanted to go over to them and beat the living shit out of them, but my grandfather told me to only use violence for necessary defense. "You 3 are a waste of my time. Now beat it," I said, growling as I walked away from them, glad I didn't lose myself there. Suddenly, I was hit in the head with a lot of force, causing me to fall down and drop my bag and sword. I was then hauled up to my knees and was in an arm-lock position, being held by Will. Tom stepped in front of me. "You know, that hurts my feelings, Danny boy. Now apologize, Tom said to me in a calm tone. To hell with that. I replied by spitting in his face, refusing to apologize to the likes of him. You'll never get a damn apology from me, asshole. Tom wiped my spit off his face and growled. Wanna play tough? Well, that's fine by me. He then started punching my gut with hard throws, almost causing me to cough out blood. He then gave me a right hook in the face, leaving me with a huge bruise on my eye. He continued punching me in the face and got a couple more times until he stopped. I was breathing heavily, while blood was dripping from my nose and lips. I have to say, he's gotten stronger than the last time we met. Tom bent down again and asked, Are you going to apologize now? Over my dead body, you stubborn jackass. Bite me, prick, I replied coldly. Tom only shook his head and stood up, ready to give me another beating. I closed my eyes tightly and braced myself for another round. Before he could, I heard Chuck saying, Yo, Tom, have a look at this! He weakly turned and my eyes widened when I noticed he was holding my sword. Oh no. Tom walked over to him and grabbed the blade, looking at it for the first few seconds until he went wide-eyed as well. This sword is made out of crystal and black rock! Will and Chuck gasped when he announced what the sword was made of, then started to smirk evilly. God damn it. Tom looked at me again and then smirked evilly as well. You know, Danny boy, instead of getting an apology from you, I'll take this sword so we can call it even. He looked at the blade while smiling at it. I can make a lot of money out of this. That's when my mind clicked and felt my rage swell within my very heart and soul. Oh, no, he's not! I threw my head back as hard as I could and hit Will in the face, making him yell in pain as he released me to grasp it with his hands. I lunged forward in rage and quickly punched Chuck and Tom in the faces, making them stagger and fall to the ground in surprise. I not only stunned them, I made Tom drop my sword as well. I quickly grabbed it, my bag, and legged it out of there. I was hoping I would have had enough time to escape, but I underestimated Tom and his friends. After him! I heard Tom shout as I made for a hasty escape. I took a quick look back and saw them chasing me, just a few feet away from me. Great. Now I'm on a fucking wild goose chase. I ran as fast as I could from the three, hoping I could outrun them. I ran through the beach and ran along the shore for a bit, until I came to the edge of the ocean. I then gave a sharp right, heading for a cliff of rocks. The hill got steeper and steeper as I continued running. I then skidded to a halt, knowing I made it to a dead-end cliff. Great. Nowhere to run now, Danny boy, I heard Tom's voice yell from behind me. They just don't give up, do they? I turned around and saw him and his goons walking up to me. I was trapped. Nowhere to run and nowhere to go. I slowly started backing up until I felt there was no more for me to walk on. I turned and saw the waves of the water hitting the bottom of the cliff. It was a long way down. Memories from my past being in the ocean emerged, making me a little frightened, knowing what is lurking down in its depths. You have two choices, Danny. Give us the sword, or you'll get the biggest beating of your life, Tom said as I turned back to them. He had one hand extended out for me to place the sword, while his other was clenched in a tight fist. His friends looked just as ready for another fight. I looked down at my grandfather's sword in my hand, knowing I didn't want them to get their hands on it. Being cornered and with nowhere to run, there was only one option left for me to do. Wait, I have a weapon with me, and they don't. Even though I don't want to hurt them, I can still try to scare them off. I pointed my sword at them and snarled. You want this sword? You'll have to take it from my dead body, I growled. Chuck and Will started backing up, believing I would hurt them. I was starting to become relieved my threat was working, but something was still off. Tom hasn't moved at all, and he was smirking. That can be arranged, Danny boy. He moved his hand behind his back and was starting to pull something out. Then, to my horror, there was a pistol he pulled out and aimed it directly at me. Tom, I think you're taking this a little too far, Will pointed out. Even though Will bullies me, he would never have thought to try to kill me. Shut up, Tom roared. If he has a death wish, then I can happily request it for him. He looked back at me and placed his finger on the trigger. Bye-bye, Daddy boy. I quickly dodged, but the bullet grazed my left shoulder, making me shout in pain. Tom ran up and tried to grab my sword, but I held onto it, and the two of us started wrestling over the blade. We continued this competition for a good 30 seconds until the tip of my blade cut Tom's cheek, making him shout in pain and release his grip on me. As he did, I lost my balance and I fell over the cliff, free-falling to the water. I heard them gasp and shout as I continued falling. Before my body hit the water, my vision was blinded by a white blur of light, engulfing my entire body. I opened my eyes and saw I was in some kind of void. I was seeing many colors around me and I became extremely disoriented. Suddenly I felt my body lunge forward, and I was moving at high speeds. I didn't know what was going to happen to me, but I hope it will be for the better. I closed my eyes and allowed darkness to take hold of me. "What the fuck, Tom?" Will shouted.
"Shut up, Will!"
Tom screamed back.
"This is all your fault, even though he was annoying as shit to me. He never deserved a death sentence. He had it coming to him."
Guys," Jack said to the two.
"What?"
The two fell silent when they saw a police officer glaring angrily at the three men. "Oh, fuck," Tom muttered under his breath. With that is the first chapter of Equestrian's Human Spirit. I am not experienced with this, and this is my first read-through. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you are willing, please join me on this adventure, and, well, I'm going to need some voices. It ain't going to be easy to do this on my own. Until then, see you next chapter.